The Championship did not disappoint this weekend, with plenty of twists and turns at the top and bottom of the Championship. In today's video, we're going to be counting down 7 things we learnt this weekend, and in the second half of the video, we're also going to be previewing the 4 midweek games we've got coming up in the Championship as well. Get all your thoughts in the comments down below, as well as your midweek predictions. But without any further ado, let's jump in. The first thing we learnt from this weekend in the Championship was that the race for second is going to be absolutely relentless. Leeds made it 8 wins on the bounce with an impressive showing away at Plymouth. Southampton proved all the doubters wrong by bouncing back after that defeat against Bristol City with a good away win at the Hawthorns. Not many teams have gone to West Brom this season and have left with all 3 points. And finally, we've got the Tractor Boys, who seem to have their winning flow back about them. They've now made it back-to-back wins and seem to have left that sticky patch behind them. What's absolutely crazy is Leeds, based off their current points per game, are projected to finish the season with 96 points. Southampton also projected to finish the season with 96 points, and Ipswich, slightly behind that at the moment, projected to finish on 95 points. So the standard all 3 of those sides are playing at right now is absolutely off the charts. And ultimately, at least 2 of them are going to miss out on automatic promotion this season if there is just that 1 spot to play for. And I think most of us think that it still will be Leicester that go on and walk the league. Both Southampton and Ipswich are in midweek action, and we'll be previewing those games in the second half of the video. This weekend we also learnt that Michael Carrick has the beating of Enzo Moresa. That's now home and away that Middlesbrough have beaten the Foxes, which is quite the achievement. Middlesbrough made a few tactical tweaks going into that game, went for a different system with wing backs. It'll be interesting to see if Carrick sticks with that going forward, or this was just a one-off sort of thing for how they go about breaking down Leicester. Overall, a bit of a frustrating afternoon for the Foxes. They do still boast a 9-point lead at the top of the Championship, but for Middlesbrough, it shows what they're capable of and perhaps highlights some of the frustrations a lot of us have had with them this season. They went from being so wasteful and frustrating last time out against Preston to being absolutely clinical in this game against Leicester. But yeah, great away win there for Middlesbrough. Looked like a very fun away end to be in. We also learnt that Millwall are in massive trouble after losing that crunch game against Sheffield Wednesday. It really leaves the relegation trapdoor breathing down their neck, with Wednesday making up considerable ground on them, and also with QPR winning this weekend as well, means Millwall just have a 1-point buffer between themselves and the bottom 3. And considering QPR's next fixture is quite a favourable one up against Rotherham, I think there's a very real possibility whereby this time next week Millwall are in the bottom 3. Form book doesn't speak well for them right now. They're on the second longest winless run in the Championship of now 7 matches. Only Rotherham are winless in more games than that right now. They're in a bit of a sticky situation as well. The club rolled the dice a little bit with the appointment of Joe Edwards in November. In hindsight, maybe there were a few oversights on that, with him being an inexperienced manager coming into such a challenging job, but since Edwards has taken over at the Den, Millwall have only averaged 0.88 points per game, which is relegation form, and that's over quite a large sample size of matches as well. And I'll stand by it, I do think that squad is a lot better than recent results and performances would tell you, but home form has been an issue all season for Millwall now, and when you have such bad momentum like Millwall do at the moment, they've lost their last 4 consecutive matches, it's very tough to turn that around. For both QPR and Sheffield Wednesday, obviously it was a massive win for them both over the weekend, and right now you'd have to say that Millwall look the most likely side to fall into that bottom 3. We also learned that Jacob Greaves is absolutely clutch. A brace for him in that game against Huddersfield, including a last-minute winner, and fair play to Hull for how they've got through those past 2 away matches. I think that on paper it's easy to say that yes, Hull should be beating the likes of Rotherham and Huddersfield if they want to have serious aspirations of finishing in the top 6 come the end of the season, but the Championship is so unpredictable. I don't think it's quite as black and white as that. I think both of those matches represented quite banana skin opportunities which Hull have managed to get through. I think it's also worth saying from a performance aspect, I still think there's more to come from this Hull squad between now and the end of the season. I still think it is a little bit of a bedding in process for some of the stars that joined them in January and how that chemistry will continue to build up. But back-to-back wins for Hull on the road absolutely cannot be underestimated. Their next 3 matches are absolutely crucial to their playoff push as well, playing fellow promotion challenges such as Southampton, West Brom and Preston. Those games are going to be absolutely huge. I think what we also learnt this weekend is that the playoff race really will go down to the wire, especially for those last 2 spots. West Brom ever so slightly leaving the door open for a few of the sides below them with that loss against Southampton. Was big for Coventry to return to winning ways as they got the better of Stoke. Norwich are on an absolute roll right now, fancied them to get the better of Cardiff and dismantled them in emphatic fashion, putting 4 goals past them. We have Preston coming from 2 goals behind against Blackburn to keep the unbeaten streak going as well and just about keep ourselves within the promotion race. Only 3 points separates Preston in 9th and West Brom in 5th at the moment, really showcasing how congested that area of the table is right now. We also learned that Josh Sargent is potentially the most informed forward in the Championship right now. He's scored 10 goals from just 13 appearances this season, and as things stand is averaging a goal contribution every 72 minutes, which is an unbelievable return. His return to the side in the new year has somewhat coincided with this great run that Norwich have been on recently, and the difference between him being in and out of the side is absolutely night and day. I saw a stat on Twitter before when Norwich have been averaging 2.18 points per game when Sargent started this season and just 1.23 points per game when he doesn't. That's such a monumental difference. Also, shout out to Gabriel Sauer as well for a brilliant free kick against Cardiff. This weekend did we also learn that Tony Mowbray is a better manager than Mick Beal. That's now back-to-back game weeks where Tony Mowbray has managed to get one over on his former employers, beating Blackburn last time and this time around beating Sunderland. Couple of stats here for Sunderland fans to think over. Under Tony Mowbray, up until he was sacked this season, he was averaging 1.42 points per game as Sunderland boss, whereas Beale is considerably worse than that. The Sunderland manager in the Championship, he's only averaging 1.27 points per game. During Beale's tenure in charge so far, the club have slipped further away from the playoffs, and it does feel like that defeat over the weekend against Birmingham was particularly damning, especially with the majority of other sides around them picking up points this week. Don't get me wrong, it's still not over for Sunderland. I think there still will be twists and turns from here to come, but back-to-back defeats and suddenly I think a lot of the disharmony around Beale from some of the Sunderland fans is starting to resurface again. But those were 6 quick pointers that we learnt this weekend in the Championship. Any others, do let me know down below. Before we wrap up today, let's head into the midweek score predictions. The first midweek fixture we head into sees Cardiff going up against Blackburn. Both sides could do with a point or 3 in this game. Cardiff have now lost 3 consecutive matches. Wasn't pretty for them over the weekend as they shipped 4 against Norwich. But I do think there's a chance they get something from a Blackburn side who are clearly still a work in progress under John Eustace. I think most Blackburn fans probably would have taken a point coming into the weekend against Preston, but having been 2-0 up in that game, they'll have been disappointed by how quickly they let North End back into it. Defending set-piece situations has been a real issue for Rovers all season. That's now 14 they've conceded this season, which is more than any other Championship club. A win, loss and a draw for Blackburn in their last 3 matches. Honestly, I think these two could cancel each other out here. I think that Eustace is trying to get this Rovers side a little bit more solid and then be able to play on breaks and things like that. We did see some nice link-ups at times over the weekend between Smodics and Gallagher, but I think that Cardiff just have to have a reaction from their recent results and performances. Score prediction in this one, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Next up we go to Portman Road for Ipswich up against Rotherham. Do think this is a good opportunity for the Tractor Boys to make it 3 wins on the bounce, going up against the Rotherham side who, I mean, let's face it, have been badly out of form all season, but especially of late, having lost their last 4 consecutive matches. I'm in no doubt that the Millers will huff and puff for this one, but the gap in quality between these two I think has been evident so far this season. 47 points is what separates them in the league table right now. I think especially when Ipswich are on it at home, they can be absolutely unplayable to some of the best sides in the league. And with Rotherham's miserable away record, I can only see this one going one way. Score prediction for me, I'm going to go 4-0 to the Tractor Boys. I really feel like they could get quite a few in that game. Next up we go to Plymouth up against West Brom. Now this is a good opportunity for the Baggies to re-establish that gap between themselves and the sides below them. Obviously, after losing against Southampton over the weekend, that gap has been closed a little bit. This is their opportunity to put daylight between themselves and some of those sides. Now, West Brom's away form all season has been pretty patchy. I think if they are to miss out on the top 6 this season, it will be as a result of that away form. And Plymouth have been no mugs either. They've not lost many matches of late, obviously. It was a loss for them over the weekend against Leeds. Bit of a mare they had early on in that game, the way they gave away the first goal. But I think everyone recognised that was always going to be quite tough for them. And generally speaking, especially games at home park this season, they have been quite close to call. I think both sides will get on the score sheet in this game, but I do just give West Brom the advantage. Even though they have been a bit hit and miss on the road, I'm going to go 2-1 to Carlos Corberán's men in that game. And then to finish things off, we've got Southampton going up against Hull, a really important match in midweek that influences both the automatic promotion race and the race for the top 6 as well. And you know what? I don't think there'll be a hell of a lot in this game. As we discussed earlier in the video, I think that Hull have done well to come through 2 quite tricky matches on the road of late against Rotherham and Huddersfield, but this will be a completely different test where I expect Southampton to have the majority of the ball and it'll be Hull looking to maybe spring a few counters on top of that. We have had moments this season as well where Hull have thrived in these sorts of matches, thinking back to right at the start of the season where Hull got the better of Leicester City by playing that sort of way. But with that being said, Southampton have been absolutely relentless at home of late. They've won 9 consecutive home matches, which is absolutely off the charts. It's not often that Russell Martin's men do slip up at home, and while Hull do have the capabilities to cause some trouble in this one, score prediction for me in that game, I'm going to go 2-1 to the Saints, I think. But guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure to get your score predictions in the comments down below for those midweek games that we've got going on. And along with that, do get all your thoughts on your club in the comments down below as well. But apart from that, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.